What's up, spiritual gangsters? It's your OGs, Treese.
And Rain.
Welcome to another episode of Trybe Vibes.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to our series on love.
That's right. Today we're going to mix it all up and talk about combining loving yourself and loving others.
And how that balances out or doesn't balance out in life. So this is just a continuation of the conversation that we had.
That's right. So let's dive in.
Here we go.
I have this I guess article. I'll read a little bit of it by Savannah East is the article.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. Basically, it says to be identified with something outside of yourself is to invite suffering. Suffering is derived from perceiving a loss. Authentic love is whole, complete, and in essence beyond suffering. The absence of love is suffering. The illusion of loss leads to suffering. When someone dies, you don't lose it because you never owned it. We suffer most when we are attached to the illusion. True love does not leave a wound when it is lost because true love can never be lost. Once created, it exists forever within the unity of the divine. And this other part, ceaselessly searching for the ultimate feeling of completion, that which is searched for exists already within. So
there's a lot of gems.
So basically,
all up in that salad of an article.
Yeah, it's like they said it in a very long way, but each part like hit.
Yeah, it all hit different.
It all hit different. Because they're basically saying, like, love can never suffer. Like, if you truly have love, like, you will never have suffering. And the way they describe it is because they connotate suffering with losing something. That's how they're describing suffering. Like people, like when people die, people feel like they're suffering because they feel like they lost something. When you think about a relationship, I no longer have this person, I'm suffering. But you have everything you need within, so you'll never lose. And everything exists within this divine, whether you have it now, like something outside of you. You can have something outside of you now, not have it tomorrow, but everything is still straight. You know, you never really lose anything. And we suffer because we're attached to the illusion that we own something out here. We don't own, like when you're in a relationship with somebody, you don't own that person. When people are around and interacting in your life, like you don't own anybody or anything.
Right.
So you never lose. And you only really truly feel that way when your self-love is at a certain level. Like you can't even perceive to deal with the notions of like I can't suffer and I don't own anything unless you already feel filled up inside.
Right. I like that. And the not owning anything, it's not to say that there's no attachment to another person. I feel like it's more the freeing concept. Like everybody's choosing to relate, to be in this situation. Right. Does it make sense? Right. No, but I like that because it's saying, well, it's just reinstating the fact that, you know, this physical world is not all there is. We're all connected, but on a higher level. So when you have that love within yourself and you're radiating and you're connecting with another person, it's all above the physical because love itself is something higher and there's something more than, I mean, it's not tangible, obviously, so it's something strong, a strong force outside of yourself.
I would say this, for instance, like I had an ex-boyfriend that passed away, right? And I feel like it seems like a loss, but in a way, it's not really a loss because I didn't lose anything. You know, I still, like, in the interactions we had with each other, I've gained, like, I've become such a better person. Like, I've gained, like, so much compassion. I've gained so much understanding. I, like, elevated myself, you know, and so did he.
Right.
And even, like, after his passing, I still have, or even have more compassion, more understanding, and I can continue to do great things in my life because of him. So in essence, a piece of him is always with me in the energy. Like, the energy that we had never died. Like, it didn't just go away. Now, people may feel like, oh, well, in a way, I can't build new things, or, you know, you don't have that same energy around, but the energy didn't really go away. The energy is still here.
It can't be destroyed.
Yeah, you may not have that person in, like, the physical essence that you want to have them in, to, like, hold your hand and to, you know, be with you and to continue on with your life journey. But once you realize that we're all eventually gonna succumb kind of to, like, the same fate, you realize how deep this world really is, and how you can like move on, and I don't know if I'm making sense, and like kind of like do better with yourself and do better with your life and love other people. Because, for instance, like, the love that I would have given him, now I'm giving someone else. So we're all like kind of like in this transactional, I guess, of energies of like love and compassion and happiness. Like, I don't feel like his energy has died.
That makes sense.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying. And
the initial suffering is really materialistic. You know, not in like I shouldn't say materialistic. What's the better word? It's more like physical.
What do you mean in terms of losing a person?
Yeah, like the initial suffering is like a physical loss you feel.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like material that's gone, you know, but not the person's essence, which can be like kind of like a whole different topic for a whole nother time. You can get like really deep into that.
We was about to get deep in that.
So let's not like really go all the way there. You know, everyone has a different opinion about that. But my point being is that sometimes to look beyond what we think is suffering and elevating ourselves to continue to love and be compassionate and stuff is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know where I was going with that.
What you're saying, what I think you're saying is you're having a rain moment. What I think you're saying is that the love hasn't died, something along those lines. You know what I mean? Because it can't be destroyed. So it's love itself is stronger. Is that no?
Right. And we're all a part of the divine. Like, we're all going back to something eventually. You know what I mean? It's like a cyclical thing. So it's kind of like, that's
why it's all connected.
He didn't lose anything. You know what I'm saying? Because we have true love. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. It's all connected. The love that you have still remains because it was strong. You loved yourself and you loved him. So that's why it carries with you.
Right.
So now when you love is learning. That's what I said in the last podcast, and even from Mr. James Baldwin. You know, you learn about yourself in loving others. That's a good one. I like that.
That's true. Okay. I have this like long quote thing, which I liked. It said, "Today, don't wish it was another day. Wish it was today. Then you will realize yourself already blessed. This is true of love. Don't wish for something that already is within. For in the final analysis, one cannot fall in love with that which is outside of the self. One's true nature is already love. So falling in love is really just coming back home."
Ooh, who said this?
I don't know.
That is it right there.
That's kind of, I guess, the dynamic of the cyclical thing that we keep trying to kind of like explain. Is that
whoever that was said to put it in the right words
and not like confabulated with our esoteric. Basically, like they're trying to say, like once you like love yourself and you fill yourself up, like this is our nature, like to love. So like when we feel like we're loving someone, we're really just loving ourselves. We're not falling in love with someone, you know. You're really just falling back in love with yourself and entangling that person, and that person is falling back in love with themselves, and it's kind of like, at least that's what true, positive, you know, genuine love is really about.
Yeah. I love it. Because honestly, when you think about it, when you say that you love somebody, like, okay, just for this example only, talking about a romantic love, you're like, oh, I like them because, you know, they have a good sense of humor and they're really smart, and there's attributes that you're looking for in this person that more or less reflect attributes within yourself or something that you aspire for, right? When you say that when you love your friends or friends that you choose to be around, you know, the family that you create, you're like, oh, like you personally, right? My nigga Tracy, right? You think higher than yourself. You're compassionate, you're honest, and you're hard work. You know what I mean? There's attributes that some I see within myself, some that I aspire for. You know what I mean? So that makes sense because you are essentially looking for either a version of yourself within another person or a future, exactly, or like a future version, or in our case, we're like fun house. We always say we're fun house mirror versions of ourselves because we are so similar but complete opposites of where we complement each other. So I like that. It makes sense because you are loving yourself in either how you are or you're pushing yourself to aspire to.
And I think that speaks to like the exact opposite also. Like you're saying, like when you have a positive self-love for yourself, you're seeking out goodness, right? But when you feel empty and you don't, that's a lot of times when people get into like really bad relationships. People don't people are letting people take advantage of them. People don't stand up for themselves because you're putting out what you feel like you deserve.
Oh my gosh.
And that ends up being a bad cyclical energy. But when you actually work on yourself and deal with, like, you guys listen back to our part 1 of self-love when we talk about dealing with like past traumas and how to really like begin to like work on self-love and loving yourself. Once you reach a certain level, like you wouldn't deal with the shit that you used to deal with. Like my first boyfriend, not my first boyfriend, but some boyfriend I was dating when I was in high school. He was a horrible person. Horrible. Like, I don't even why the hell I would be like with someone so I don't want to say evil, 'cause I don't believe, but whatever. Like, he was not a good person. He lacked his own probably self-love, you know, and he was, you know, had a lot of stuff going on, but I would never date anyone like that. But at that point in my life, I wasn't really loving myself either. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking about building myself up. I was just thinking about, you know, the tangibilities in the world and, you know, I guess what I can get materialistically. You know, I just wasn't really like a very thoughtful person at that time. And I really didn't have any type of self-love for myself to begin with. So I was okay being with someone like him, being with someone manipulative and draining my energy and, you know, all this stuff. Because I didn't even know what it meant or how it felt to, like, love myself and to, you know, all these things that we talk about now. Like, I was a totally different person.
Yeah, you were loving within, you know, your limits at the time. You weren't aware of more, so you weren't aspiring for more.
I swore I loved him. I was like, I love you.
Yeah, but you were loving within your limits. Yeah, because that's all, you know, that's what you knew at the time. You weren't aspiring for more because you weren't aware of more.
What an asshole. So, like, I
tried to make that sound better. And she's just like,
you know what?
Fuck that nigga.
I was with him until I went to college. And my first year of college, it didn't take me more than like 3 weeks before I broke up with him. Because just me stepping out and like like filling myself up with like, bettering my life and doing better with
Right.
myself, everything crooked kind of just like became straight. And I was just like,
Yeah.
why the fuck am I
What am I with
doing
this?
this?
Yep.
I was like, I love myself too much to deal with this shit. And he wasn't a different person. Like, it really wasn't him. It really wasn't him. It was me. It's because I grew up and bossed up and loved up,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that one.
It was deep, girl.
I have one, 1 John 3:18. And I guess this goes to like the way I want to interpret it is like how we can love ourselves and other people, kind of like at the same time. It says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." So meaning you have to be truthful with yourself and do things to, cultivate, your own self-love, but then also with other people too. Like you have to be honest with your interactions. And if you feel like someone is draining yourself, you have to speak up. Remember we talked about this a little bit in like part 2 with loving others, how you feel like sometimes people like you feel like people are like draining and they like drain you of your energy and they kind of drain you of like your own self-love because, you're kind of, you feel like you're at a deficit at this point and you're not nurturing yourself. I think you have to speak with people in truth and in action. You have to like let people know like what is real and what is going on, with the most compassion, with the most honesty, with the most appreciation. And you have to put your actions to back up what your truth is. And everything has to be in a line that way. So you protect yourself while still loving other people. You're making sure you're full enough to step out into the world and then making sure your interactions with people are in truth, so it can be love.
Yeah, that it aligns with
yeah.
everything that you know. Yeah.
So I like that one.
I like that. To be honest, a lot of what I found is just reiterates this. I don't know how many other ways
to put it.
Say it. I have one by James M. Barry, though. It says, "If you have it, love, you don't need to have anything else. And if you don't have it, it doesn't matter much what else you have." It just kind of, reinstate the fact that, love is the end all be all. So having it within yourself and, expressing it outside of yourself is really all that you definitely need, outside of, like staying alive, like water, food, all that jazz. But other than that, what you like really need and experience in this life in, however many forms it takes. But it, and also like what we said, if somebody's lacking that love in their life, doesn't matter what you have materially.
Right.
It doesn't add up to shit.
I have one, 1 John 4:18. It says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love." I like that because it brings up the topic of some people, like, they feel like they're in love or they feel like they're loving someone or something like that. But, they're always scared. They're always in fear, and they need to understand, like, true love has no fear. Like, true love gives you enough comfort where fear is cast out. You shouldn't feel like you're being, like, I don't feel like there's, like, punishment is not a place in love. You know how some people are, like, spiteful or they do things because they feel like tit for tat type people.
They know what buttons to push, so they'll push them to get a reaction.
Right. Like, for instance, like, let's say you did something, like we were supposed to meet up somewhere and you had an emergency or something like that and you couldn't come and I was left by myself. Now, because I love you, I'm understanding. I'm going to be like, "Oh, yeah, no problem. Are you okay? Is everything all right?" Some people, and I had to cast out some people who acted like this in my life because you did that, next time they won't show up when you ask them to go out. You know what I'm saying? And they hold that within you, like, well, you didn't show up last time because of blah, 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 so I'm not, spiteful. And fear and trying to punish me for, like, things that happened in my life. Like, that's not
outside of your control. Yep. To me, I have to cut out family members who behave like this. I just recently had to make a cut of that speaks to toxic relationships, and I feel like that's a whole topic that we can do. But it definitely coincides with this. It's loving yourself enough to cut out, the type of relationships that aren't nurturing, that aren't loving. You know what I mean? Because it is good to love everybody. That's such, that's very altruistic. But in the reality, if in being in that situation with them, in that relationship, however the relationship may be, in being in that relationship with them, if it's harming to yourself and it affects how you feel about yourself and it's toxic ultimately, then you got to take care of number one first so that in a healthy relationship you can, provide the love that's needed,
I feel like you can still love everyone though. Like you can still love everyone, but just decide to not, like you can love someone and decide not to have a relationship with them. Like you can cut somebody off, because I've cut a whole bunch of people off in my life saying, the way you're moving is not interacting right with my spirit. So I'm going to love you. I decide to love you from afar, and these are my boundaries. And only if you love yourself, you can be able to do that with love with other people. It don't matter if they get mad, if they go off, because that's their self-love deficit. If they get mad and they get envious and they get upset because you decide that this relationship isn't conducive, whether it be a friendship, family, whatever, and they have to deal with that. But you can decide to wipe your hands clean and still love them and not carry any hate or harbor any negative emotions towards them. It's just, I wish you the best. And maybe once you start loving yourself more in a way where our spirits can vibe, then cool. If not, you do you and I do me. And that's what it is. And it goes to this quote that I have that says, it's not your job to be everything to everyone. It's not your job. You don't have to. You can choose yourself first without being selfish. It is not selfish to choose yourself first. It's sane. Period.
That I 1,000% agree with that. Especially,
I'm listening.
I don't even know to put it this way. Just as Black women, the shit that we got to deal with, it feels like, like in families or culturally or in relationships, it feels like, you got to put up with this because, that you're supposed to be the loving or the nurturing character. But it's like, no, once you learn to put yourself first, you have to create those boundaries.
Right. And I think
in order to thrive, not to survive.
The thing that kept me probably in bad relationships longer than what I should have been in that relationship with that person is understanding. Like, I understand why he's so mad. I understand why he's so angry. I was using understanding in, like, the wrong context. Like, if I understood why you were so angry or why you do the things you do, and it's a good reason, and I can, like, understand why you have these walls up and you're a certain type of way, I feel like, oh, there's a good person in there, so I should, like, ride out with you and try to help you and blah, blah, blah. But what I didn't understand was that it's not up to me to do that for them. Like, they have to do that for themselves. There's nothing that I can do to make them into a better person. You know what I mean? Like, they have to decide they want to be that better person. And just because I understand why somebody is the way it is, they are, don't mean they need to be in my life taking my energy and stopping me from loving myself and being a better person. Maybe the best thing I can do, because I understand why they are the way they are, is to leave them alone so they can deal with their own self-love deficit, so we can once again reunite in a way where it's positive and loving for the both of us.
Yep. That's definitely a relationship that I was in. Like, I can't love you, or I can't love you for the both of us.
Right.
Let the thing go. Yeah. I can't do that shit. You can, and to be honest, as like a human being, you shouldn't expect that. Somebody can't do that job for you.
No, yeah,
And
exactly.
you shouldn't have to ask somebody to. So until
you
you learn how to love yourself, leave other people alone.
You know what? Some people don't realize that's the key. So because they're searching for something, they don't know what they're searching for. They latch on to people who maybe looks like what they want to be, and they don't realize that. They don't even realize that they're bringing that person down.
Right.
Because they didn't deal with themselves. And I feel like it's up to the people who knows what's going on to really, like, I guess, preach the whole self-care thing so people can understand it for themselves, so they can decide to do better for themselves, so they can be in relationships and it can be positive and compassionate and appreciative and not feel like fearful, punishment, negativity, hate, indifference and whatnot, selfishness. They don't have to feel like they're being selfish or anything like that.
Yeah, because like you said, that is definitely draining when you're the one putting up with that. And because you are aware, and like you said, I understand it. I know that's why and their traumas. We have to put on our big boy and girl panties.
Right.
And be big boy panties. And do your own, do your own work within yourself.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for today, but definitely come check us out on our next episode as we go further into the topic of love.
So, as always, hope you got something out of this.
Remember, we are experts of nothings out here in these streets.
We learn from you like you learn from us because we are a tribe.
That's right, girl. We a tribe. Till next time.
Continue to vibe.
Hey.